Mother-Daughter Disney podcast. My name is Amanda. I'm here with my lovely mother.
Hi, I'm Jeanette.
And today we are going to be going over my bachelorette trip, part 2, essentially. So in our last episode, we went over our 2 days in Disney World, where I did 4 parks in 2 days with 7 of my closest friends. And then after everyone had left, then me and my 2 childhood friends, Shannon and Tyler, we embarked on the Disney Wish, my first Disney cruise, a Disney Cruise Line. I'd always wanted to go on the Disney Wish specifically, and also just do the Disney cruise in general. So I'm super excited. So I think in this episode, I'm just going to recap the overall trip, kind of gloss over everything. And then in future episodes, I may break down my top 10 tips for going on your first Disney cruise, kind of things like that. Mm-hmm. And I'll include some of those things in this episode as well. So the first thing, so again, I can't talk about how you book the trip because Tyler and Shannon did fully book the trip, but there is a lot of stuff you have to do when you book the trip as well. So just keep that in mind that I'm only going to be focusing on once we get on the ship itself, just a full trip recap essentially. So our embark time was 12 p.m. noon. So we ended up taking a lift. We were staying at All-Star Sports, so we could have taken the shuttle from the Disney Cruise Line. The reason why we didn't was because the Disney Cruise Line, kind of like when the Maxwell Express existed, you have to book the bus so early that you kind of get to the port very, very early, and then you're kind of just sitting around for a while. So Tyler decided, it's fine, let's just take a lift. So
and
we
I
took
didn't
a lift.
realize, but I think you have to pay for that bus anyway.
I think
don't
you do too, yeah. And you get there very early. So we paid for the lift, and so we took a lift. It took about a little bit over an hour. It's an hour to an hour and a half for us to get from Disney World, from All-Star Sports to Port Canaveral. Mm-hmm. So we got to Port Canaveral. I recognized the ship right away. It was very exciting. I think I did tear up a little bit. So when we got there, the first thing I noticed was that we got out of our lift, and then there's all of the porters, and the porters will take your luggage. They would have mailed you the little tags to put on your bag. If you don't have them, they will write them out for you too, but it does take a little bit more time. You can give your bag to any porter. We didn't know that at first because we thought at first, is there certain porters who take certain floors or decks for room numbers? There isn't. Any porter will take your bags. We gave them the bags. So then we walked over to where you kind of get online to enter the ship. Now, I will say there were no signs anywhere. There's not really a single sign. And we just followed the crowd. Now, it was very crowded, so it's pretty easy. You just kind of follow the crowd to where you're going. There was a cast member holding a sign that said 12 p.m. arrival. But the way she was holding it and standing in front of people, it looked like people were lining up for the 12 p.m. arrival. So we kind of just got in line, a group line, behind her. And we were all right, we're the 12 p.m. arrival. So we stood there for a while, and I thought, they're just running a little bit late. Because at this point, it's almost 12:15. Suddenly then she changed the board to her to say 12:15 arrival. Everyone in the group started to rush towards I guess where the skinnier line was, so to speak, where you funnel in to get on the ship. Mm-hmm. And it turns out that's what that sign meant, was that the 12 p.m. arrival is who they were accepting right now. So if it says whatever time they're holding, that's the time that is who can go on the ship. So we didn't realize that though. Again, we could have asked, we didn't ask. Right. So that was our fault for not asking a single question to anyone in that moment, but it just wasn't obvious to us, and there were no signs again anywhere. So when we kind of got online and we showed our time to the cast member, she was like, you're 12 p.m. So she actually had to skip a part of the line because, again, it's very ordered how they get you on the ship. So we actually were able to skip a lot of the line because we were supposed to get on earlier, again, just the order of the people getting on the line. So we go up, you go through security, and so after we got through security is kind of like an airport, but it's not as strict. Most of your stuff can just stay in the bag for the most part. And they're really just checking for metal and stuff like that. So after you go through that, the whole time too, they're make sure you have your passport out. We're all just holding our passports in our hands, right? But you don't do your passport until after security. So we could have just left it in our bags the whole time. And then after security, that's when you check in officially into the cruise. So there's a lot of a lot of cast members, a lot of lines, lots of people. We honestly didn't wait in line. You kind of just walk all the way through. Cast members are kind of directing you where to go at this point, and then you kind of go up to the counter. They scan all of your passports. So then we start to go through. Now this is really exciting for me because this is where I've seen a lot of vlogs of people getting on the ship, the little signs and the hallway that you walk through and everything. They get to the gangway. The gangway was much longer than I thought it was going to be. Zigzags up to the ship, which I didn't know that. So then we get in there. Once you actually get onto the ship itself, they also give you a little QR code. And with that QR code, that's actually how you get on the ship. So the QR code actually matters more than anything else in that moment. So we have our QR codes, and then they scan the QR code right as you're getting on the ship, and then you actually enter the ship. And they do have the big announcement. So they ask for your name, and then they will make an announcement being they would say the McHugh family has arrived. I just told them Shannon, Tyler, and Amanda, because they were you should do the Weaver family. And I'm well, none of us are Weavers yet. So I was that's not any of our last names. So I just said Shannon, Tyler, and Amanda. And that's what she said to welcome us in. I think I filmed that as well too. Mm-hmm. So now prior to this, from the night before, I actually had not really eaten any dinner the night before. To my own fault, I knew I was not eating. I was just trying to make sure everyone else ate, but I ended up not eating any food. And that morning when we left, we didn't get breakfast. I just had a protein bar right before we got in the car, just so I didn't get car sick. So we hadn't eaten. So even though it's very stereotypical that everyone gets food as soon as they get on the cruise ship, we were and everyone says don't do it because the buffet is going to be crowded. We were we're so hungry. We're going straight to the buffet. So we did. we went up to deck 11 is where Marceline Market is. Now I will say one of the things when I was on the cruise that I noticed is that I never really got used to how the elevators worked when you get off the elevator to like leave the elevator bank, because on some of the decks, specifically the lower decks, you can get off on either side of the elevators, and on the upper decks you can't. Like there's like nothing on the other side, so to speak. So you get off, and a lot of times you get out of the elevator and you go around the elevator, so to speak. So that's what you do for Marceline Market. Marceline Market takes up like half the ship on deck 11. And so we went up there and we got into the lines for the buffet food. So I will say there was lots of food options. Every food option you can kind of think of, they kind of have. And then also there is also the cantinas as well. The cantinas is also on deck 11, but it's like outdoors technically, I would say. And so I didn't even really know, like I didn't understand the difference between the cantinas and the Marceline Market when I was watching the vlogs and everything like that. Again, I watch so many vlogs and YouTube channels. I some things just like didn't click until you see it in person is all. But the cantinas are essentially like little like booths, sort of, not booths. They're like little eateries, you know, like kind of going around the deck. So technically it's outdoors, but technically it's enclosed because there's windows. But they're sort of like booths in that sense where like you walk up and you get your food, then you leave. Where Marceline Market is more of like a traditional buffet, I would say, where like there's sections in Marceline Market too, but it's not as like themed. So for instance, like the pizzas was like Daisy's Pizza, you know, so then it's like all like Daisy themed, or like the Mexican food I think was like Donald's Mexican food, or like Goofy's ice cream or whatever. So like all, or like Mickey's like Donald's Smokehouse Barbecue, whatever. So they all had little themes to it. But that is where you get like the tacos, you can get burrito bowls, and one of them is like Mexican food. Another one's like the pizza one. There's one for like barbecue food, and they had like pulled pork, and they had macaroni and cheese. Then they had another burger one that was just burgers, Impossible Burgers, veggie burgers, stuff like that. And then they had one for ice cream. So those are the cantinas is what they're called. And then the Marceline Market, again, two separate things. The cantinas are open much later. So for the pizza ones, open until 11. That's the last foodery, so to speak, to close. And the cantinas, again, they're open much later. Marceline Market is only open for breakfast and lunch. I didn't realize that for some reason, but they don't do dinner there. So if you want dinner, that's like not in like the dinners that they serve you, you'd have to go to the cantinas. So the only reason why I mention this is because in some of the vlogs I watched, one of the guys, he was eating pizza. So I thought Marceline Market would have had pizza. And then I realized he was eating at the cantina when he got on the ship. He didn't go to the buffet. So I was like, okay, now I realize that. But I remember walking through the whole thing being like, where's the pizza? And there was no pizza. And so Marceline Market also, again, it's in the, I think it's the aft of the ship. I'm not really that great on like the forward and aft, so I could be wrong, but it's on one of the ends of the ships. I think it's the aft. It could not be the aft. It could be the forward, but it's a U shape, right? Because it goes around in a full U shape. So the food is exactly the same on both sides of the U. So once you get to like the butt of the U, so to speak, it's gonna, you'll notice that it's like once you see like, you know, the things repeat, it's going to repeat in the same order on the other side. So I still walked the whole thing just to make sure, but it does. All the food is exactly the same on both sides. So we end up just sitting on one side. I got the pesto orzo pasta. We got French fries to share. They call it Kids Corner, which I think is funny, where they have like the chicken tenders and French fries and stuff like that. But it's like, well, I want French fries too, and I'm an adult. So I got to go to the Kids Corner and get your French fries. And then they had this focaccia bread that was so good. And so when we started eating the food, the first thing we all noticed is the food was kind of cold. It was kind of like room temperature to below room temperature. It tasted good. It was just below room temperature to below room temperature. And then I ate, the bread was very good, I will say. I had multiple little squares of those bread. And then I went up and I got the falafel salad as well. They do have salads, but none of the salads have the dressings on them. So you do your own dressing. Oh, I guess I should mention this too. When you get to Marceline Market, there's this whole big station to wash your hands, like all these sinks, and they encourage you to wash your hands. And so a lot of the other places too had little hand sanitizer wipes where the cast members would hand you the wipe, that you had to take the wipe from them to use the wipe, and then they had little trash bins you put the wipes in. So I'll say the ship really emphasized cleanliness on this ship. So this one, like we all washed our hands before going to Marceline Market. And so when we were there, so that's why I say like also Marceline Market is not a true buffet in the sense that most of the food is served to you. So you wait on the line, you tell the cast member on the other side of the glass to be like, this is the food I want. They'll plate you the food and they'll hand you the food on top of like the glass essentially. The few things that were self-service is like in the morning, like the granola, some of that stuff was self-service. Again, the salads, you would take the salad, then you could put your own dressing on the salad. So some things were self-service and other things were like they were handing you the food themselves. So it kind of depended on the station, I would say. But I got the salad. The salad, I was a falafel salad, but I did not realize the salad was like 90% arugula, and I do not like arugula. And I actually filmed it because I was going to do like a reel of like me eating all the food. And you could see my facial expression change when I realized it was arugula. And I was like, oh gosh, not this. I hate arugula. And I couldn't spit it out. So I just swallowed it. But then I picked all the arugula out and it was so bad. Then we went up to get the little desserts. The desserts are very good. I got this little cookies and cream cheesecake thing, which is really good. And I got the chocolate chip cookies were good. I forget what Shannon got, but whatever she got too was also very good too. So yeah, so I would say the food on the first day, it was not bad, but I would say it wasn't like the most fantastic food I've had in my whole life. If the food was a little hotter, I think it would have been better as all, but that's it. So also when you get on the ship, it's important to turn Bluetooth on because you have to have Bluetooth on to use the Disney Cruise Line app. So we have that. And then also once you get on the ship or once you're in port as well, see, so before you get on ship or before you're in the port, the app basically shows you nothing. You can't really see anything on there. Once you get on, then you can see your full itinerary. So our itinerary was we embark, we have a full day at sea, then we have a day at Nassau in the Bahamas, and then we have Castaway Cay, and then we go, then we go back. So 4-day cruise. And so once we got on the ship, then we could see the itinerary of all the activities for the day. And so I don't know why I guess it's because they don't know what the itinerary is going to be until it gets closer to the cruise. But it was hard because once we got on, we're like, all right, time to go through this whole app. So all three of us are just sitting on our phones, like hearting the things that we wanted to do. Because if you heart it, then I'll like send you a notification and be like, oh, this is starting in 15 minutes if you're still interested in doing like this trivia or this karaoke thing or whatever it may be. And so that was really fun. So we did that. And then we decided just to walk around the ship. So we were at Marceline Market on deck 11. We took the stairs down to deck 10, or was it up to deck 12? I can't remember which one it is. But we took stairs to a deck, and then we saw Palo, Enchante, and the Rose. So the Rose is a bar. So anyone can go to the Rose bar. It's like a very fancy bar. And this is like the adult only section. I think that's like the one truly adult only bar that you can go to. And that's right outside of Palo. So Palo is the very famous like Disney Cruise Line, restaurant that everyone goes to. Tyler really wanted to get us brunch reservations there, but we ended up never getting brunch reservations. We did make a dinner reservation, but we did cancel it. Eventually we never went to Palo. But we could walk through it because when you first get on the ship, almost everything is open house. So you can just walk through and take photos if you want. So that's what we did. We walked through, we took photos. We went through Enchante as well. Enchante is a very expensive restaurant. That's like a very fine dining. We knew we were not going to do that because Tyler's like, do you want to do Enchante? And I already knew they don't really have vegetarian options. And me and Shannon are both vegetarian. So I was just like, yeah, we're not doing Enchante. We could have done Palo, but again, we chose not to. So again, we walked around, we took lots of photos of the ship. And at this point, we were told when we got on the ship at 12 that when the porter took our bags, he was like, you will be able, oh wait, sorry. I lied. So we did not get our room keys until you get to your room door. So they only had that QR code. So sorry. So when you show them your passport to check in, they give you the QR code, and that's all you have at first is your QR code. And then he said around 1:30, your room keys will be outside of your room. So you go to your stateroom, which you already have from they told us a stateroom like months ago, honestly. You go to your stateroom and the cards are just right outside of your stateroom essentially. And he said by 3:30, our bags would be right outside of our stateroom as well. So again, so we walked around, we got to our stateroom because we were like, well, let's go get our keys. So we got our key of the world card and our bags were already there at like 1:30. So we weren't expecting that. So we walked in. I'll say the room was great. The room was really great. So Tyler did book a slightly larger room even though it was only 3 of us, he could have booked one of the smaller rooms. He's like, no, let's book one of the slightly larger rooms. So our room could have potentially slept 5 people. So we had the queen size bed, and then there's technically their bunk beds. So the pull-out couch would pull out to like a single person, but like a twin size bed. Then there's something from the ceiling that drops down also to be single. And then there's a Murphy bed too that drops down as well. So again, it could be 5. So if so which I think is good because if you like a lot of families have 3 kids, so it makes sense that like your whole family could potentially stay in one room in this way. And we also had the veranda as well. So we walked in the room, we had a Cinderella room. Some of the rooms all have slightly different theming. We got the Cinderella room, which we didn't know what it was going to be until we got on the ship. And like, I guess unless you know the ship very well, you know which side's which, but we didn't know that. The artwork was really pretty. Lots of Mickeys everywhere. I would say it was a very themed room in a very elegant way. Cause I feel like sometimes, like if you say contemporary, like Mickey's not on the sheets. Mickey was on the bedspread, it's like a little Mickey. It was very pretty, honestly. So we did that. And then we have each like stateroom has their own like stateroom, like personal person who's going to like clean your room for you essentially. So our person was Valentino. So Valentino came over and like when you book the thing, you say like who's staying in your room. So he knew it was 3 adults. So for instance, if you needed to book like a crib to be brought to your room or something like that, like you could do that. Also, they say too, it's good to meet your stateroom attendant early because they have like Disney sheets that they can put on the beds if you have kids. So you can request the Disney sheets for the beds if you want to as well. And so obviously we didn't do that. We let the children have them. But I heard people say like you need to do that early though, because the sheets will, they'll book up and then you won't get the sheets anymore. So do that if your kids will want the Disney sheets. So we met Valentino though, and he asked us like which bed like we were going to be pulling out. Like he thought we wanted the couch and we thought we would do the Murphy bed. So I was just like, I don't know which one it is. Like it doesn't matter to us. Of course, this was like the one time Tyler was in the shower. So it's like, not me and him talking to like Valentino being like, I don't know. It's like whatever you think is best, Valentino. So we did the Murphy bed. We picked that for Tyler, and that's just like what we ended up doing, which is kind of funny. So then he left. He was very nice, honestly. Honestly, all the cast members were very nice. We were on the ship. So then we had everyone on the ship has a mandatory safety drill that is at 3:30. It's absolutely mandatory. You have to do the safety drill. You have to be at it, right? It was so funny because at like 3:25, we're like, we have to get to the drill. It's like we're running late to the drill. The one mandatory thing we have to do in the ship, we were running late to. We were running late to everything though in the ship. We were always like running out of the room to do something. So 3:25, you don't have to bring your life vest. They did make an announcement that goes to all of the staterooms saying it's like we're doing this mandatory drill. Like here's like the rundown of what's going to happen. It's like you don't have to bring your life vest, but like you can if you want to. And then on your key of the world card, it says like the letter that like you're going, and then on the app it tells you where to actually go. So our drill, and like if there was an emergency, we were going to go to the World of Marvel restaurant, and we were in the group V. So that's where we went to. And so as as we were walking down the steps to the World of Marvel restaurant, lots of other people were walking too. And we were like, thank goodness, because thought we were running really late. And so they just have you sit down at the table. It's just like grouped up in your little groups and everything. They make a lot of announcements that they were going to play a very loud, like emergency sound essentially. And I've never really been affected by sound before, but the sound was very loud. Like I actually had a physical reaction to it because it was so loud. And it was like, I don't know, I can't explain it, but it was very like unsettling to have like this very, very loud, like alarm blast. And I think it was like 5 blasts and then like 1 long blast or something like that. I can't remember how many blasts it was, but it was a lot. And I didn't cover my ears because I didn't think I needed to. It's like the second time when we heard it later on the ship, they were doing a drill with the cast members. I did cover my ears because it was very loud. But we sat down and then we were separated at the table because obviously they try to keep families together. So Shannon and Tyler were sitting like on a different table from me during the drill. And then they play like a little video for you on the screen. You watch the whole video. They just go through like the safety things, how you put on the safety vest, everything like that.
Right.
And then they do an organized like exit. So they would exit all of us, I guess how we would exit like to the lifeboat, so to speak. Because once you exit, then you're done with the drill. But right when it was done, I got kind of confused because I thought they meant like we were going to exit now. So I stood up and then a cast member came over and was like, oh no, please sit down still. Because like our section wasn't like leaving first, like a different section was leaving first. So some of the sections entered out and then we were able to exit as well. I just thought it was interesting because I was like, oh yeah, I just had never really done like a big safety drill like that. And then once you're done with the drill, they also say too that they will not play announcements in the staterooms. Again, it's only during that drill unless there's an emergency. Right. So when they do the big announcements, ship ride, we will hear the little bell in the hallway. So if we wanted to hear it, we would just open the door to hear what they were saying. Okay. So, all right. So then after that, we decided to walk around a little bit. And then we went to the Bayou. The Bayou is one of the bars. It's in like the center of the ship, sort of like physically kind of in midship. And there's like entrances on both sides. And it's decorated as if you're in like New Orleans swamp. It has all these flowers and lily pads on the ceiling. It was so pretty. We sat down immediately because we were like, let's just sit down for a little bit. And then Tyler wanted to get a drink. So we shared one drink. I don't remember what the drink is. So sorry. I'm going to have no memories of the drinks because I'm not really good at drinks. And we ordered the thing of beignets. And that's when I sent you the photo that we're on the ship with the beignets. The beignets were very good, I will say. They came out so hot though. That's the thing. We were like burning our mouths on it.
Fresh made probably.
Very good beignets. Oh, I forgot we cheers the beignets. I was seeing that video. And then we had the sail away party. So that was like a big thing I really wanted to see. So then after we did the beignets, we went up to deck 11 again to watch the sail away party. We got like kind of, good spots, not like crazy good spots, but I heard it was very good. And it was such a good show. I was like crying watching the sail away party. It was so funny. What's also funny too is that the ship starts moving before the sail away party starts. So I thought we were going to actually leave with that. We don't. The ship had already left and then the sail away party happened. So you could see us moving. And right when the ship left, I could tell we were moving a little bit. Nothing crazy. I could just tell that we were no longer still was the only thing. So I cried throughout the sail away party. It was very good, very entertaining. And then I also cried too when they did the big horn as well, because I don't know why. I was just very sensitive that day. So then we went back in and we took a bunch more photos. So then that's when at 5:00 for tax purposes, the gift shop cannot open on the cruise ships until you're at a certain point in the water. So the ship set sail around like 4:30. So it wasn't until 5:00 where like, I guess deep into the water enough that they could open up
international waters.
Yeah, where they could open up the gift shop. So Tyler had heard that a lot of the items in the gift shop will sell out very quickly. So you should try to get there early and get online early. If there are specific items you definitely know you want to get that you don't want to like risk it selling out. So we got there early and then it's all windows to get into the little shop. So we were kind of just window shopping the whole time, like looking through the windows being like, what are we going to get? Like, what do you want? And everything like that. Like what souvenirs are we buying for people? By the time the doors opened, we were like one of the first people in the shop because we were there so early. There were a lot of people that got there. Now it was funny to me because the first thing I saw was that on one of the racks, there were these white sweatshirts and I knew that was a sweatshirt I wanted to get you. That's the one that's over there. And it's like, they could have had more on the back. I'm not really sure, but like just in case, it's like they only had one out at least for the opening of the thing. So I went on there, I got that. It immediately got so crowded and not like crazy crowded, but it was crowded in the store that I couldn't find Shannon and Tyler. They disappeared. Didn't see them again until like kind of towards the end. So what's funny was that I didn't really think through. It's like, all right, what items should I get? Because I was like, all right, I knew I wanted a sweatshirt. I knew I wanted a t-shirt and stuff like that. The items that people ran to were the ornaments, the pins, of course, and the lounge flies. Those are the 3 items I noticed that people took like 6 or 7 off the shelf and were buying them like in bulk. And it was funny because I didn't even think about an ornament. So when I walked over and I saw one woman holding 7 of the ornaments that I purchased, it was like the little Mickey ear ones with like the wish on it. Those types of ornaments. It was like the Mickey hat.
Right.
She was holding 7 of them to go check out. And I was just like, should I be taking one of those?
I'm surprised they don't have a limit. Like
I think 7 was the limit or something like that. I think maybe she was holding the limit.
That they would give them
or maybe she was holding some she was going to split with her partner or something like that they were going to get like 4 and 4 or something. I don't know.
How many you can buy.
It was interesting though because I was saying none of the items sold out right away though. Like even once the crowds died down a little bit, that initial rush was over because we were kind of standing there for a while looking at all the stuff. All the items were still available. So it's like it wasn't that crazy. But then I did end up getting that ornament. I got a magnet. A lot of the pins too. Like pins, people were taking the pins off in like chunks. Like they would just take the whole chunk of pins off and like were buying pins in like groves. It was wild to me.
You got your pins though that you wanted.
Yeah, I did. I got all the pins I wanted. It was just wild to me because I'd never really seen, like I knew that happened, but I'd never seen it before. But I also know too, a lot of the Disney Cruise Line items, especially for the specific ships, are exclusive to that ship. Like you can't buy Disney Wish items unless you're on the Wish, which I like. I love that about it. And that's why I bought so much, honestly. I feel like it's like one of those exclusivity things. So I was like, well, I want it all then, because it's like, yeah, I can only get it here. And I'm probably not coming back on the Wish specifically, you know, anytime soon. So it's like, I want to get it now. So we all bought a lot of souvenirs. I bought so many souvenirs. So I bought a lot of stuff from this store. Spent a lot of money on this as well. I will say there is DVC discount if you're a DVC holder. I think there's also annual pass holder discount too. I don't know what that percentage is, but DVC, there was a 10% discount that you can get. And so we bought all of our items. We kind of went around. I know for myself, I got like a sweatshirt, I got a t-shirt. I got 2 t-shirts actually. I got pins for myself. I got 2 pins. And then I also did a mystery box pin. So I just thought that would be kind of fun. And then there was a pin that I really liked, but I wasn't going to get, that Tyler ended up buying for me later on in the ship anyway. So I got that pin as well, which is very sweet of him. He also got some mystery pins too. And then I also bought, Shannon got a water bottle, I remember. The Loungeflies were all very cute too. They had like a mini, like Captain Mini one that was really cute. They had one of like the ship itself. Again, watching people hold like 5 Loungeflies in their hands is crazy to me. So it was pretty wild. And they had a lot of Loungeflies. It wasn't like that was, I don't know. It was just interesting to see people like what they were gravitating towards to like,
because they probably thought the same thing. We have to go get it now. We have to get everything we can before it all disappears.
Yeah, it was just wild to see with like your own eyeballs, you know? So, but yeah, so we bought all of those. We bought all of our main souvenirs, and then we never actually went back to the store. We always thought about maybe going back to like look again, like look at the mugs again or other stuff, but we end up never making it back just because there's so much to do on the ship. So instead, the next thing I wanted to do was we went back to the room to drop all of our stuff off. And that was one of the things I really liked about being on a cruise, is that you're so close to your room at all times of the day. So if at any point in the day, if you want to just quickly go back to the room to drop something off or to get something, you can. It takes like less than like 3 minutes to get back to your room. From like any part of the ship, you'll get back to your room really quickly. So I really like that, because I feel like I'm used to Disney World where it's like you don't go back to the room until the end of the day.
Right,
you know?
Can't get back there, right?
Yeah, so I really like that aspect of it. So we went back to the room, we dropped all of our souvenirs off, and then we wanted to do the sidekick trivia, which was at the Bayou, funny enough. Went back to the Bayou, sat in the same seats, ordered the same beignets, actually had the same waiter. So it was kind of weird. Kind of funny. So when we were sitting there, Tyler then said, he was like, oh, I have to use the restroom. So he left, and then we got our little papers and we started, me and Shannon, doing the trivia. And then Shannon told me, she was like, oh, Tyler texted in the group chat saying like, oh, I have to go back to the room for a second. So I was just like, okay, didn't really think anything of it in the time. We did the whole trivia. I think we ended up getting 18 out of 20 correct, although half the room got 19 out of 20 correct. So then they had to do like a bonus round for them to win. Right. We didn't win, obviously, because we got like 2 wrong. But then at that point, when Tyler got back, it was like 40 to 45 minutes he was gone. And we got back, I was like, are you okay? And he was like, oh yeah, like I just like had to go to the bathroom. So like indicating that he was pooping. And I was like, okay, no worries. Like I get it. It's been a long couple days. Like we've been eating a lot and drinking a lot, whatever. Didn't think anything of it. And also in my head, I thought too, it's just like, oh, you know, it's like sometimes it's like at this point we've been with people 24/7, right? You had no time to yourself. Sometimes you just like want a moment by yourself. So like to scroll on your phone for a second or two. So it's like, you know, didn't even think anything of it. So our first dinner was in Arendelle. So we go over to Arendelle, and I was really excited for the Arendelle one because I heard Arendelle was really good. So it is really, the room is very pretty. When you walk in, it's super pretty. We are celebrating Anna and Kristoff's engagement parties, the whole idea of it. So at first, these 3, a violinist, a guitarist, and a singer comes on stage and they sing all the songs. Immediately, we all realized the singer was not good. Unfortunately, she was not good. She sounded like she was sick was the thing. It was really what it's like she had a cold. And I was like, the girl is trying hard like for our entertainment. And she looked so beautiful too, but she was trying hard. We later found out that she was like a backup singer, because the original singer who is hired for this role was sick. And then the backup singer was also sick. So she was actually like a backup singer. Okay.
So she wasn't sick and on the ship.
Yeah, it made sense in that sense once we found that out. So we're like, okay, I'm glad that you know, like there was a reason to like why she was singing, because we were kind of surprised that like she didn't sound good. And I've heard people say that usually that show is phenomenal. And I was like, she sounds like she doesn't sound well, honestly. Like when she was singing like Let It Go, we were like, oh, it's like, this is not very good. But a beautiful girl though, of course, though. So the violinist honestly stole the show. The violinist was incredible. So when we booked the ship, we had an option as well to do like you can pick. There's a lot of options for the table. It's like, do you want a table, you need a high chair? Do you want a table close to the entertainment? Do you want a table by yourselves? Do you want a table closer to like the restrooms? Do you need like an ADA compliant table? All these options. We said for our priority that we want an option closer to the entertainment. So our tables were all very close to the screens, or in this case to the stage, because there was a stage in the middle of the room. So because of that, there were 3 of us, and we shared our table with 5 other people. So it was 4 and 4. So there were 8 of us at our table technically. And so the other group we were sharing the table with were also very young as well. And so initially, when we didn't talk to them at first because we got there late, we got to every dinner late actually. We got to the dinner a little bit late. We sat down. Everyone has 2 servers. We had Jeremy and we had Mitch. Mitch takes the food and Jeremy took the drinks, and then they both kind of brought out the food, but that was kind of how it always was. Now I didn't realize this, but you have to order your food all at once, from like your starters to your dessert. I didn't know that. So when I had to order my food. I didn't even read the entrees yet. So I had no idea what the entrees were because it was kind of like we sat down, there was entertainment going on. We were talking to these new people we were sitting with that we're going to be sitting with for the next 4 nights, of course. So when Mitch was like, all right, what do you want for dinner? I was like, and then I just looked at it. Luckily, because I'm a vegetarian, there's only like 2 options. So I just asked her, which one do you recommend? And I just picked the one she recommended. And like, that's what we went with. What was so funny that when we talk about it's truly a small world after all, Mitch asked us, what are you guys here to celebrate? You're celebrating everything. And then Shannon and Tyler was like, we're celebrating, like I'm getting married. So that's what we're here for. And they were saying, we're celebrating our college graduation. And they're like, oh, what school did you go to? They all just graduated from Emerson College, which was my undergrad.
Okay.
The irony that it's like we're sitting at a table with 5 Emerson graduates. Of my alma mater, which is so funny. And so immediately they were more excited than I was because I'm very like, I was like, I'm weird about stuff. But they were like, what was your major? And so I explained to them I was a WLP major, but technically it was creative writing, all this stuff. One of them was also WLP major. She asked me, are you working in publishing? So I told her, it's just like, not anymore. And I said, like, to be honest, I was laid off 3 times from a publishing company. So I'm not currently in publishing. Luckily, they never asked me again over the next 4 days anything about publishing. I was like, thank goodness, because I do not want to break this girl's heart. That is like, publishing is tough sometimes.
Not the one to be in.
They were all so sweet though. They're all very, very, very nice group of, friends. I was like boys and girls, but a very nice group of friends that we sat with. So, all right. So I just got a Sprite. I got Sprite basically every night. They kind of got drinks. I will do whole videos on like the food that I ate. So I won't go into the food overall, but I would say to rate Arendelle, I would say maybe like 4 out of 5 stars. The appetizers are good. I got soup. The food that I had, I can't remember what it was, but it was this food and a cabbage. The cabbage was horrible, but the food inside was good. So I just picked it out of the food inside. And then the signature dessert was also good. What I didn't know was that when the characters come around to your table to say hi, they come in at a whirlwind. It's like a tornado. It's like Elsa came over, said like 20 words to us very quickly. It was like kind of babbling about, very nice. Turned around and went to the next table. It was like very fast because they have to get to every table in the course of the entire dinner, right? And perform too. So when that was happening, then we saw Elsa comes over and then Anna and Kristoff come over too to like thank you for coming to like their party. So I didn't know that though. Later on when we get to Marvel, we were warned ahead of time that Spider-Man was only going to be like at our table for a little bit. So just to be ahead of time to like record the whole time since it's only being quick when he was there. We didn't get that warning with Elsa. So it was real quick. She came and she went. So it was really funny. Yeah, Arendelle was good. Again, it's like most of the food on the ship was very good, honestly. So 4 out of 5 for sure. After that, then we decided to walk around the deck. We walked around the whole deck, all outside the deck. We visited all the pool decks, everything that basically you could see outside that we just kind of walked around just for funsies. And then we stayed up to do the midnight show. So at midnight on the ship, on that chandelier that's in the atrium, there's like a little light show basically that happens. So it's very cute though. And then it's just to say like, oh, it's midnight because it's the Disney Wish. So like, the midnight wish essentially. So we watched that. And then we also watched some entertainment too, also at the Bayou, funny enough. So they had like a lot of live music just kind of around in some of the bars. So we just watched some live music as well. And then, then again, just a lot. And then this day, just a lot of walking around. So at this point, after we watched that, we kind of get back to the room. It's midnight now. And so when we get back to the room, it's very common on the ships to decorate your doors because all the doors are magnetic, right? So like a lot of people bring their magnets on the doors. So as we're walking back, now people have been on the ship for a little bit. So a lot of the doors are now decorated. So we're like, oh, wow, look at all these magnets. So we're looking at all of them. I like pointed out a few too to Shannon being like, oh, wow, look at that one. And as I remember, we'd only been to the room twice at this point, but I remember our room was like right around the corner from like this little, like it kind of bumps out a little bit. We rounded the corner and I look at the door and Tyler was filming it. And I said, wow, because I was shocked because the door had all these magnets on it, had all these lights on it. But I stopped because in my head, I was just like, our room was the first door around the corner. So I was confused at first because I was like, wait, it's like, this is confusing to me. And I realized when Tyler was in quotes pooping, he came back to the room to decorate the door with all these magnets. So he had magnets. I'll show you the photo as well. He had magnets that said like all of our names on it. He had like this big Mulan thing as well. He had a magnet that said Bachelorette Cruise with our names on it too. He had a magnet for Ted, like a little Mickey dressed as a firefighter, and a little thing for Morocco too, my cat.
That was
of
nice.
Like the little,
let me see.
I'm just showing my mom the photo.
Oh, how cute.
Yeah, the little Morocco too on the Mickey bar. So yeah, so he had that all decorated, which was very cute. And I was just so shocked and it was so funny. And in the video I even said to, I turned around, I was just like, you told me you were pooping. And I was just like, what were you doing? So we go into the room and the lights are off in the room. And it's funny because when the lights are off, I could see the first thing I saw technically was the little towel. Because on cruises, they always do the little towels
on the bed.
So I saw the penguin towel first. And I was just like, wow, look at the little penguin. But then I saw all this other stuff. The first thing I also saw were shoes were on the bed on like a piece of paper. And in my head, I was just like, did Valentino like put Tyler's shoes like on top of like the bed for some reason? I was confused on it. Shannon went to go turn on the light and Tyler stopped her because I was walking in. I was just like, in my head, I was like, how come there's no lights on? But Tyler had decorated the bed as well with items. Oh. So when I walked in, he had strung lights and like a sign above the bed as well. And then he also had like the little sash that was on the bed. He had a book. Earlier in the week, they had given me the water bottle earlier because I talked about how I wanted a water bottle and they had already bought me a Cinderella water bottle. So I had that. And the shoes that were on the bed, it was that Tyler had bought us 3 pairs of matching Converse in light blue, essentially. So those were the brand new shoes that were on the bed. I was just like, why are the shoes shoes on the bed. But Tyler was wearing Converse earlier in the week, so I just thought they were his Converse.
Right.
Plus, he also bought me a Phantom of the Opera book as well, because that was like how one of the first things we all did together in theater, as well as the 2 pins that they bought me live on the ship earlier that day. Like Shannon said, when we were singing the Bayou, Tyler had texted her being like, where'd you put the pins? Because he knew that Shannon had the pins, but she didn't see the text until later, and he ended up finding them on his own anyway. So it was very cute, but I'll show you that as well. So all the stuff on the bed. And that's why Tyler didn't want her to turn on the light, because he had strung up lights as well over the bed.
Right, he wanted to turn those on.
Yeah, so he wanted me to see it with the lights and stuff like that, which was also very cute too. So again,
it
was
really
so
went
sweet.
all out.
That's what I'm saying. And then he said too, the balloons were supposed to be a part of this. So from the last episode when we talked about just the Bachelorette weekend, Tyler had bought all these balloons that they blew up and also put on the bed. But then we found out we can't bring balloons on the ship, so he used all the balloons in that one instance instead. So that way we would have things for both rooms. But then when he found out he couldn't have balloons on the ship, he just used it all for the other day instead when we were in Disney World. So again, so that's what I'm saying. So sweet to like go all out for all this, and also like to buy 3 pairs of shoes was so much. And then they told me the story of how they're trying to find my shoe size because they didn't know what my shoe size was. So they were saying it's like when they came to visit me, they were just going to look at my shoes that were like in the little hallway that we have there. And then I think something came up, but we just talked about her shoe size, and I said I was a size 6. So that's the size they bought me, which I thought was funny. So all right, so. And also too, like this is also one of those moments as well that we didn't know how many times Valentino, the stateroom attendant, was going to come into the room. They come in a lot, all things considered, because they come in to clean the room in the morning. They come in like the afternoon to like kind of clean the room again. Then because like, and we could tell this too, because every time we used a towel, we'd come back in and all the towels were refreshed. And we're like, wow, all the towels were refreshed. Even though they did have the sign that say if you hang up the towel, they won't refresh it because it's like, oh, we're saving water and everything. Still refreshed.
They still do that, yeah.
He still refreshed all our towels every time. Very sweet of him to do. And then also with Tyler's Murphy bed, every morning he would put the bed up, and then every evening that turned down, like usually when we were at dinner at the show, he would bring it down and he would like unset the bed for us, and he left out the little chocolates, and he would do the towel animal for us too. So all right, so now we're on to the next day. We're 30 minutes in. We've only done one day so far. So all right, I'm gonna go a little bit quicker through some of these days, but I think we will go quicker. So again, we went to Marceline Market in the morning for breakfast. Very good, honestly. This was our full day at sea, so a lot of activities at sea.
Right.
I will say the breakfast was honestly so good. The eggs were so good. The hash browns were very good. Breakfast was way better than lunch. The food was still like room temperature to below room temperature. Okay. But it was honestly so good though. Didn't even really notice. And so at this point, Shannon actually had a migraine a little bit. So she went back to the room to lay down, and me and Tyler went to go play bingo. Bingo is like a huge thing on cruise ships, right? I had never done bingo. Tyler's been to actual bingo halls like on land, just like in New Jersey. So I didn't know what to expect, but it's a huge thing. A lot of like fun, like a lot of rules to it, of course, too. A lot of fun like games and like music that they play specifically for the Disney cruise too. They do a lot of extra little stuff too. Kids can play bingo. They do say technically is a gray area. A child can play bingo, but they cannot claim a prize. They have to be with someone 18 or older to claim a prize. Okay. No child can claim a prize, and a child cannot be unattended in the bingo area either.
I could see that. Okay.
So that's kind of like the main crux of it. If there's children playing bingo with you, we went to bingo 3 times. We didn't win any of the times, and we came really close to a few of the jackpots. So it was very exciting. So bingo was fun. But kind of again, lots of walking around the ship, taking photos. Like a lot of Tyler art was on the ship. A lot of like art in general was on the ship that was so pretty. We went up to the deck, and the deck was really fun. We like hung out in the adults only area, which is in the aft of the ship, like the adults only pool and bars and stuff like that. So nice. There's like this infinity pool that you can go sit in. They also had this like, it's like kind of like a waterfall bench where it's like a bench, but there's like water that comes down the back of it sort of. So it's like a little waterfall bench. We sat in there for a while too. So that was also really fun as well. This is when we went to the cantina to get food as well. So that's where I got the pizza. The margarita pizza is only available upon request. No idea why, honestly. But the woman in front of me asked for margarita pizza, and I was like, well, I kind of want that too. So they made one for the 2 of us, and me and her share it. Technically, me and this woman, very nice. Very good. The pizza is very good. It's not like the best pizza in the world, but for like, fast pizza, very good pizza, honestly. So we ate that. Then we decided to get the soft serve ice cream. So at this one, they do it for you. And so Shannon and Tyler both wanted the chocolate and the strawberry, and they thought it was going to be a swirl. But it turns out those 2 flavors are on separate machines. So you can get the chocolate and the vanilla swirl, and then you can get the strawberry and banana as a swirl. If you want them from separate machines, they just load it up on 2 separate sides, and it looks ridiculous. It was melting all over the place. I'm like, this looks silly. And they were like, Tyler's was going all over the place.
Oh God, more mess.
I know. Mine, I just got vanilla. I was like, I just want plain vanilla, like the classic. I hadn't eaten a like soft serve in a cone in a long time, so mine actually exploded because when I got to the cone part, it like splattered everywhere, and I didn't know I was going to do that, which is so funny. So, but anyway, though, so we did that. Then we walked through Joyful Sweets. Joyful Sweets is like the inside out bakery that's kind of on the ship. They have paid for ice creams. They have ice cream, gelato, cupcakes, cookies, things like that. That's like the additional stuff. It's not the like included in your package. It's like
you have to buy
extra price. We walked through that just to see what they would have because we knew we were going to come back there eventually. They did have a lot of flavors and a lot of stuff on the ship. Again, we spent a lot of time on the deck just hanging out that day, and also spent a lot of time too just like taking photos and stuff. We did bingo again. Now the first night on that day at sea, we had the Ariel show, the Little Mermaid show. So we got into the little, I forgot that there was a show too on the embarkation day too on the first night. I forget what that show was called, but that show was also very good too. That's in like the big Walt Disney theaters, like the main stage show. So yeah, the first day, a big show, very good show. It has like all the characters are kind of in it. I cried during that show too. And again, now we're at the Little Mermaid show, which is an hour-long show. And they're basically just the retelling of the Little Mermaid in an hour. Right. Very good, so good. Honestly, everyone is honestly so talented on these ships. It's incredible. The set pieces were really good too, obviously. So I thought they did it really well. The way they do like that fact that she's a mermaid is that she's just wearing like a skirt that has like a little thing that they all hold for the mermaids. And then of course that goes away when she like has her legs and stuff like that. So I was curious to see how they were going to do that. But yeah, so it's all very pretend, but it's still very fun though, lots of bubbles. And so then after that, we went back to our room. Our second towel was an elephant, and they used actually a blanket that was also in the bed. So we had an elephant, so penguin, elephant. At this point, we have been in Disney World for like half a week. We had to do laundry. We were like desperately needing to do laundry. We went down, the laundry is on deck 8. So we went over to do laundry. This was also like the optional formal night. So in Disney, it's not like no one actually has to dress formal if you want to. A lot of people will, because they'll take advantage of like the formal night to do like family photos, because you can sign up for family portraits, especially if you pay for the ship photo pass. You can do the family portraits will be included that. You can take as many photos as you want basically with photo pass people. So we saw a lot of families doing their family photo pass. And so we did our laundry in our fancy clothes, which was very fun. 100% worth it though, because we desperately needed to do the laundry. And this night we ate at 1923. So 1923, so they have the two sides. They have the Walt Disney side and the Roy Disney side. And the restaurant has no entertainment, but it's basically just themed to like the making of the movies. Like it has a lot of the original sketches and the original like art that they use to make a lot of the movies. So we sat there. So this night had honestly, I think the best food for sure. So we always got the little bread rolls. I got this tortellini, which was really good. A Caesar salad, which was phenomenal, but I did have to cut it myself, which knocks it down a point. And then I got this like butternut squash dish. Very good. And then again, 4 to 5, good food. It's like nothing really to complain about here. And we got dessert, like the churros were very good. The little cake I had was very good. Everything. They also had a little celebration cake, which you do technically pay for. Tyler told me that later on, was that they know you're celebrating something, so they'll bring you like a little celebration cake. So I got like a little chocolate cake. It was very good, honestly. Ate the whole cake, didn't eat the other dessert I ordered. It's hard because when you get the menu, when you ordering, you can technically order as much food as you want off the menu, right? Because it's all included in what you've already paid for in these restaurants. So sometimes Tyler, I think at that night, he got 2 filet mignons because there's a 4-ounce filet mignon. So it was very small. So he got 2 of them to make it 8 ounces. And so I think they did put it on the same plate for him too, which is kind of funny. Then we walked around because we were, so I guess I didn't say this too, the ship has 2 dinner times. So you either have the 5 o'clock dinner time or the 8 o'clock dinner time. And then whatever your show is, you switch it. So like when everyone is having dinner, we're in like the 6 o'clock show for Little Mermaid. Then we have dinner, and then those people, they go see the Little Mermaid essentially. So it's like kind of flipped in that sense. So I don't normally eat dinner at 8 o'clock at night. So by the time we're actually eating, it's like 8:45 at night, right? So it's pretty late, honestly. But because of that, the restaurant's like emptying out. So then we could just kind of walk around at leisure to look at all like the art that was up. So that was really fun too. We never did get over to the Roy Disney side though to look at their artwork, because the artwork is different in both sides. So it's worth it to look at it. Also for breakfast, they do have, so again, we went to Marceline Market every day, the buffet breakfast, which again included in the thing.
She said it was good.
Yeah, it was worth it. It was very good. You can do a sit down table service breakfast between I think like 8 to 9:30 or something like that. And it's first come, first serve, but that is also included too if you want to do like a sit down breakfast as well, like have people serve you without doing the paid brunch at Paolo. So if you can do the paid brunch at Paolo, or again, if you want to be included, you can get sit down, but again, it's first come, first serve. So you just have to get there early if you want to do that. We didn't do that any of the days though. We didn't need to. So we took some photos, and then this is when we went to karaoke. So this is the first karaoke night that we went to. This is the first of many karaoke's we went to. We went to karaoke every night. So the first night was a family karaoke. So all the songs, all it meant was that kids could be there, and that the songs just had to be family friendly, just basically no curse words was all. It was so fun though, honestly. And I think it like brought back the fact all 3 of us did theater. So even though me and Shannon were never on stage, like we just love music and singing in a general sense. And it's like encouraged that you sing with the people though. Although there were some people who sang that were phenomenal. Like some of these women who went up like were belting their hearts out, and they sang phenomenally. And I was just like, this is unfair. I thought you were supposed to be bad at karaoke. Everyone was so good even the kids were very good, honestly. The funniest thing too is that I kind of missed The Greatest Showman craze. Like I liked the movie, but The Greatest Showman was really big with kids. I know there was a group of girls that were there that by the 4th night, we had done every song on The Greatest Showman soundtrack. Like everyone was doing The Greatest Showman. It was kind of funny. It was really cute. The only thing they didn't do was Never Enough, but All right, so we went back to the room at that point, went to sleep, nothing too crazy that night. And the next morning was the Bahamas day. So again, so we got up, we all wore our matching Converse for the Bahamas. We got breakfast again, really good breakfast. So then when we're getting off the ship, when you get on the ship, you get on at deck 3. And when you're getting off to actually go to the ports, you get off at deck 1. We didn't know that, so we kind of got lost on the ship because we didn't know how to get off the ship. You get off at deck 1. So we got off at deck 1. You do need your little key of the world card. So even if you aren't like doing your passcode or like using it for the key door, everyone has to have that again, except for a minor who has like the minor paperwork that's filled out, because when you leave, they will scan your card to leave, and when you get back, they scan your card to get back as well. And they do suggest you have your passport as well too, and that is actually for the Bahamas, not for the Disney Wish though, but I'll get to that in just 1 second. But yeah, so we got off the ship, we kind of just walked around. Right when we get off the ship is all like the little stores for like made for cruise people, so we went through the little stores. We didn't do anything too crazy, and then we did go out into like the regular part of the island just because we really want to get like body wash. So we went out to the regular part of the island, walked around a little bit, came back to like the main cruise area, walked around more, and then we decided to go to Sing Your Frogs, which is like a really popular, very famous spot in the Bahamas. And also they have like locations in Florida too as well, like other areas of the US. We went there, very loud, very like DJ bumping at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Lots of drunk people were there. Lots of people doing these crazy things of shots like on like the bars. One thing was like on an airplane, they were always playing bells and whistles. They would hold the alcohol liquor bottles like over people's heads and stuff like that, blowing whistles.
I was going to say, you don't remember that when you were young?
I don't know.
We went, I just have to interrupt because we went to Senior Frogs. And when we went to Senior Frogs, because we were on that cruise for Uncle Bob, we went to Senior Frogs, and when you were young.
I was like 16.
Yeah, you were 16. We were there. We had lunch with a couple of other people. We did it. And as we were going out, they had all the girls were lined up, and they had this red liquor in the bottles, and they had the bottles over their heads, and they had to stand back and have their mouths open. And the liquor was going everywhere. They were covered in red. I mean, it was disgusting. And you said, "That's disgusting." And I said, "Good. You remember that."
So they did have that. They had like this conga line where they say things, if you want free alcohol, join the conga line. And then it wasn't like that gross, but she would just like pour it into your mouth like as you were coming through the conga line.
No, this was bad. And I remember you saying, I said, "Good. You remember that, Amanda. Remember, don't do that."
Well, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't. Even when I was a kid. Like, I never liked being messy when I was a kid. So. But yeah, so we got that. So we got drinks, and we also got a plate of nachos as well. I can't remember what drink I got, but my drink was very good.
I thought the food was good when we were there.
The nachos were phenomenal. Yeah. So the drink I got was very strong. So I didn't know how strong the drinks in the Bahamas were going to be, but I only had about half of the drink, and I also drank like 2 full things of water as well, plus the nachos. But I was very drunk though, honestly. I was so drunk. You should see my tummy. Look at my tummy photo real quick. That's how splotchy I was. From my half a drink. So splotchy. I took that in public too. I was so drunk. Just like in public.
In public. That's what happens when you're drunk.
Yeah. So I was so drunk then when we got there. So at this point at 2 p.m. we were going to have our martini tasting on the ship that we had already paid for. So we're kind of making our way back. We paid for, I got some souvenirs in the Bahamas. And then when you go back into the area where the cruise ships are, like you're supposed to have your ID. They actually weren't checking IDs. We probably didn't have to bring our passports with us. The only thing they checked was like what card we had. So I think maybe because we had the Disney Wish card, he just checked all of our cards, and then he like let us through. He didn't even look at our ID. So it was okay for that. For some people, I did notice they were checking their ID. So I think like there was like 5 cruise ships that were in port that day. So maybe some of the other ones, like I don't know what the security is or something like that, but it's like maybe they had to check their IDs or whatever. But for the Disney Wish people, I noticed they didn't check the Disney Wish people. So I'm not really sure what the rules are, but for at least for that day, we didn't. Went back to the room. This night was going to be pirate night. So when we got back to the room, they had these like pirate bandanas that were laid out on the bed that Valentino left us from like, when he fixed the room from the morning. So we had those for later. And then I did make it to the martini tasting. We got to the tasting. We were late to the tasting. We were late to everything. And so the first martini, horrible. Not even sure what it was, honestly. Second martini was much better. But after that, I was like, I need to go lay down. And then the third martini was being brought out when I decided to leave. So then I left. I threw up in the bathroom, and then I laid down and I felt a lot better, honestly. Shannon and Tyler stayed for the whole martini tasting. And then they were only 2 more martinis after I left. So there were 5 martinis total in the martini tasting. I actually am not sure how expensive it was because Tyler paid for it. But we did the whole, so they said like, you didn't miss much from the martini tasting. Shannon said you sit at the tables 2, 2, and 2. So each table has like 2 people. So Shannon said, even though it was very obvious you left, they kept giving me like both glasses, obviously. So Tyler and Shannon were both kind of like sharing all the martinis. They didn't really finish any of them, they said, but they said the best one was the chocolate martini. And one of the other martinis Tyler said was also very good too. So they came back to the room. I was still kind of like passed out at that point, like drunk and tired. And also because we were in port and there were so many ships in port, the ship was rocking very gently. So I think the mix of the ship rocking very gently and me being mainly me just being intoxicated intoxicated. Like that's why I got sick and wasn't feeling well. But Tyler did put on like the little bands on my wrist and we put a little patch band behind my ear, which to like make it better. And after honestly sleeping for like taking a 3-hour nap, I woke up and felt completely fine. So I did miss the Disney Parks trivia, which is the only thing I was really sad I missed because that was a big thing I want to do. This was one of the slots we had to do the Aqua Mouse as well. I didn't do the Aqua Mouse. And also I missed the ship leaving from port, which is also often like very just pretty to watch. So I missed that too. And Tyler took a video for that for me instead. And then Shannon also, then after the martini tasting, they both came back. They left to go hang out on the deck for a while. Shannon came back like 15 minutes later, I think, because she also got sick and had to lay down too. Because she had her whole drink at Senior Frogs and then she had some of the martinis as well. Nice. And then she was put over from that, again, with the ship gently rocking. Now I know it was the alcohol over the ship rocking because on the last night, the ship was rocking a little bit that I felt, and I felt completely fine on those days. I just felt the ship rocking and that was all. So, all right. So then we went to dinner and we were in 1923 again, but the menu changes because it's Pirate Night now. So we're Pirate Night for 1923. And so the food for Pirate Night was okay. I got this Samoa thing that was honestly very good. This quinoa salad, which is horrible. And then I got the falafel, which was dry. But then I got this little cheesecake thing, which was very good though. Back to the room. Our animal that night was like an octopus squid thing. It looked really cool on. It's like a Kraken octopus thing. I'm just looking at a photo. I don't really know what it was, but it looked very cool though. Then we went up to the deck for the pirate show. So they have a whole like rock and pirate show. No characters like Mickey and Minnie are not in the show. It's just a bunch of pirates are singing. They sing a lot of like classic rock songs and stuff like that. But then towards the end, I forget like the goal of it, but it's like you're singing for like the treasure. There's like bright treasure. The bright treasure is fireworks. But then Jack Sparrow is like at the top of the ship, like just hanging off like part of the ship, and he jumps down like, you know, on a string, of course. He comes all the way down. It was thrilling though. I would just happen to be filming that part when it happened, so I was just like, oh my god, like I'm getting this on camera. But it was really cool. And then the fireworks go off. The fireworks go off on the right side of the ship, which I believe is the port side.
I have no idea.
I don't remember the difference between port and starboard, but it's on the right side of the ship though. So if you want good views of the fireworks, you can be on the right side of the ship. I know a lot of people say too, if you get a veranda on the right side of the ship, you don't even have to go to the party. You can just watch the fireworks from your veranda. So yeah, but obviously I think we were on the left side of the ship anyway, but anyway though, so we saw the fireworks, a very good show honestly, and then we stayed for a little bit and we just kind of hung out a little bit. And then that midnight show on the chandelier in the atrium, that show is different for Pirate Night. They do different colors and they do a slightly different wording for it too. We missed it because we were in karaoke. So we went to the adults only karaoke. So this one meant that it's like mainly it was just adults in the room and you could sing like a songs that had curse words in it if you wanted to, or like more like adult songs, or you know. So like a lot of people did Disney songs as well. There were a lot of the same people from the previous night were there. There's this one man named Andrew who was so drunk honestly, and he sang multiple times on stage. No one knew the songs he sang. He sang some metal songs which sounded crazy, but the MC of the night kept just like roasting this man. Like at one point he was like, you know, I remember my first drink too, Andrew. It was just like, it was so funny. This one girl, she sang Part of Your World from Aladdin, and she sang it by herself though, so but she was struggling between the two parts at some points because sometimes the lyrics were like a little bit slow, especially when it was a duet. And so the MC suddenly jumped in with her towards the end and he sounded incredible. I was like, god damn, this man's like a real singer. And at the end he told her, he was like, oh yeah, I saw that Andrew was about to get on stage with you, so I thought I should save you. And it was, Andrew was fully standing like
I'll go help her.
It was this man, he was honestly entertainment for that night. So I forgot to say, the other night when we did karaoke, we did What Is This Feeling from Wicked. The three of us did it together that night. So this night, because me and Shannon both were sick early that night, we were not drinking at all tonight, obviously. Only Tyler was drinking, and he really wanted to go on, but he was drinking a lot because he was just like, no, I need like, you know, I need to be more drunk to go on. And he sang a song by Cher is what he did. So I filmed the whole thing too of him singing the Cher song. It was very cute. So then the next day is our Castaway Key Day, which was super exciting. So we get to Castaway Key, and I believe if you have to be on the left side of the ship, you see the islands. When we were on whatever side, I don't really know the size of the ship. I get very confused with the size of the ship. So whatever side of the ship we were on, we did not see the main part of Castaway Key. We kind of saw the other side of the island, which was fun because when we looked down, it's the side you debark on. So it's like we saw all the people because you can't leave the ship until 8 a.m. And so I really wanted to run the Castaway Key 5K. So the initial plan, which did not happen, was that we were going to get up early. We were going to be one of the first ones to debark. I would run the Castaway Key 5K at 8 a.m. and then at 9 a.m. we were doing the Stingrays. That didn't happen. But anyway, though, we were up early just to say. So I was watching them like unload the ship, and it was really fun to watch that because they were unloading like stuff for the ship needing to like supplies. Like there was a thing of tires, you know. It was just like funny to see like what they were unloading. On the third day of the ship too, this is the day, depending upon which cruise it is, it's always going to be the last full day that you're on the cruise is when they do the churro Mickey waffles. Phenomenal, so good. Those is like all worth the hype for sure. They were amazing. They basically just taste like a churro that's like more fried, I would say. So good though. Then we got off the ship, and basically the walk from the actual ship to like the main part of the stuff to do is a pretty long walk, honestly. So we took the tram. So we fully took the tram all around this area. So the first tram stop was the Stingray thing. And by the time we got there, it was already almost 9.
So you didn't do the run?
I did do the run. I just did it later in the day.
Oh, okay.
So we went to the Stingray thing. At first, I will say, I think there could be better signage on Castaway Cay because if you don't know where you're going, it's not very clear at first. And the cast members are very friendly. Like we asked multiple ones being like, is this a stop we get off at for the Stingrays? And they were all saying like, yes, this is where you get the Stingrays. When we got off, no signs at first. Like we couldn't find the signs to say like where to actually go for the Stingrays. We found it. It's like right by like one of the little gift shops. So we go down, they do a little orientation about telling you it's like, the Stingrays, like how to pet them properly. And we're also going to be feeding them too. So I took so much video when we were doing this because the first thing you do is you go in the water and the guy has this big thing around him and the Stingrays will come up onto it and you feed them. So as soon as they come up, he will give you the fish to feed them. And as soon as they get onto the board, you just immediately drop it and then you lift your hand up and then you can pet their backs essentially. And so the thing, I don't know why, but I wasn't expecting him to hand me the food so quickly. So he was like, here, he gave Shannon something. He's like, this is what this is. He gave me, he's like, this is squid. And then Tyler got a piece of fish. And so I was like, not prepared as someone who doesn't eat meat or fish. You'd just be holding a little piece of raw squid in my hand. So I was like, this is kind of weird. Yeah. And I was like, whatever. And so it took a while for some of the stingrays to come up. They have 50 stingrays in their lagoon and they're all female. He knew the names of them. So the first one was Side Pocket and then we had Bailey and then we had Penny. And we were like, how can you tell them apart? And he was like, honestly, it took me a really long time to tell them apart. He was like, it's not easy to tell them apart. But he's like, you can tell them apart based on the markings on their back and like their size. And he said like the size of their tails as well as like how they take them apart or tell them apart. And then once you do the feeding portion, then they have like the snorkel thing because then you can go into the lagoon and you can just swim around with them as well. So then we did that for the rest of the hour. Cool. Honestly, it's so fun. I would definitely do that again. And so we swam with them for the full hour. We were in there and they do give you a vest. It is not a life vest. It's just a vest to let the lifeguards know that like you paid for this experience essentially, that like you're supposed to be in the Stingray Lagoon. Right. But I only mention that because I'm not a very strong swimmer and there are sections where they told us this is the shallow end and that's the deep end. The shallow end still does get pretty deep where you cannot stand on the bottom and you do have to actively be swimming. So it's like I did notice that some of the families with kids really only stayed by the shore, honestly. But once the food was gone, a lot of the stingrays left the shore and they went into the deeper parts of the water. So you do kind of have to follow the stingrays if you want to see them the whole time. So yeah, so that's the only thing is that like I kind of wished it was a life vest because again, I'm not a very strong swimmer. So for me to like shred water the whole time was kind of exhausting. Right. And so again, that's just me being a weak swimmer. Other people probably were completely fine. But then there were times, I will say this day, the waves were very rocky. It's like, it was a beautiful day and we were able to dock, of course, but the banana boats were canceled. The jet skis were canceled. The glass bottom boat was canceled. Some of the other boat excursions were canceled. The parasailing canceled. Right. So a lot of things were canceled because it was a windy day, even though it wasn't that windy, it was windy enough
for them to not do it. Right.
And you could feel it in the current. Like when we were swimming, like there were times when it's like, I would try to stand and I would be on my tippy toes and then like the current would take me under.
You. Yes.
And it would be funny because Shannon and Tyler are both like 6 foot. So it's like they were fine. I'm like drowning in this water because I'm short. So.
Hold me up.
All right. So then after we were done with the stingrays, mind you, I dressed to do the run first, right? So I'm in my running shorts, regular underwear, sports bra, and like a regular shirt. I did the stingrays fully dressed because I did not have time to change into my bathing suit. So now at this point, I'm like, all right, now we took the tram to Pelican Bay or the next stop. There's like mainly 2 stops of like the family lagoons because there's like 2 main beaches for the family lagoons. And then you switch to do a tram to Serenity Bay, which is the adults only section on the other side of the island. So we took the tram over, although the walk is honestly only like 5 to 7 minutes. It's not, we walked it back coming back to the ship later. But yeah, but we just didn't know that. So we took the tram over and we got over there. I didn't know where the 5K started. We kind of just like walked around. I just asked someone. It was right by the bike rental. So I actually asked the bike rental guys, like, where does it start? And I was like, where do I get the medal? And he's like, oh, right here. And I'm like, oh, perfect. So it's right off the Pelican stop, whatever the Pelican Bay stop is. So we got there, still fully dressed, mind you. So soaking wet now because I just swam with stingrays for an hour, soaking wet, so hot. And so then I ran the 5K then. So then the hardest part, honestly, was switching from my sneakers to the sandals back to my sneakers was genuinely the most difficult part. So I did the 5K. I started running because we had booked the package where we got the stingrays, tubes, a bike rental for an hour, and snorkel gear as well to do the other snorkel lagoon, all in one package, essentially. It wasn't that much more money over the stingray package, so that's why we did that. So Shannon and Tyler got the bikes and they biked. However, I left before them. So funny enough, we didn't see each other at all on the trail. So not sure how that happened because it's not that big of a place, but we didn't see each other at all. I ran it in like 31 minutes, I think, or something like that. 31 minutes, 42 seconds. I ran a 10-12 mile. And so it was very hot though. I didn't bring headphones with me. I planned to not bring headphones. I knew I was just going to run it in silence. I will say the trail is pretty easily marked, but it is confusing when you get back. And it's also fully basically in the sun. There's like no shade on this trail, right? A lot of people were walking it. I would say the vast majority of people on the trail were walking it. A lot of people were biking. There were a few other runners that I saw too, because at this point, what time was it? It was like 10:45 in the morning, right? So like the sun is up. So the hardest part is that the main part of the trail is on the emergency runway for like planes. So you're mainly on a runway the whole time.
Hot. Yeah.
And for the most part, you kind of just, you run out, you run around this little circle thing, and you run all the way to Serenity Bay. You come back, you run around the circle thing again, and you go back to like where you started. So it's not too difficult of a trail or anything like that. But when I was coming back, the signs coming back, there's really no signs to come back. There's signs going out on the trail, but when you're returning, there's not that many signs. I only say that because when you got back, the road like forks, and I was like, which fork do I go down to get back to the beginning? And at this point, I'm like almost done with the race, so I'm hot and tired. The last half mile, I will say, was pretty rough. And there was a girl behind me who was running, and I stopped. Like I actually stopped because I was looking around and be like, I don't know where to go. And she said, do you know where to go? And I was like, no, I don't. I was hoping maybe she knew, but she was also her first time running this too. But then she stopped for longer because her friend, I think, was on a bike behind her. So she was waiting for her friend to catch up. So then I was like, I'm going to go this way because it said the bike path was that way, and it ended up being the right way. So I went that way instead. There are water stations along the path a little bit, especially around like the little circle part that takes you to the observation tower. So I did not stop for water, mainly because I just wanted to be done with the race. I was like, I know it's like, I'm going to be done soon. I have my water when I get back. So I got back. And then Shannon and Tyler came very soon afterwards, and they were like, we should have all left at the same time so they could have like seen me physically running. But I was like, thank goodness they didn't, because I think I was running. I probably looked like a crazy person. It was so hot. And now I'm like soaking wet, full of suntan lotion, full of sweat, full of the salt water from the sea too. Right. So then I went into the bathroom. I actually finally put my, so then we got drinks real quick, non-alcoholic drinks, just like little frozen drinks. Very good, honestly. We took the tram then from there to Serenity Bay, which again is the adults only section. And when we got there, that's when I put my bathing suit on. And then we walked onto the beach there. Shannon was saying that when she had done her one other cruise the last time, on that cruise, it was like impossible to find chairs and an umbrella. She was like, the only chairs that were available were in the sun. And she was like, we didn't even sit on the beach. We actually sat in like kind of like where the food sort of was. And that's where they sat for the whole day. It was fine for us to get chairs under the umbrellas as well. They have lots of umbrella. Honestly, every chair has like, between each chair, there's like an umbrella. So there's lots of umbrellas. Even on like the family beaches too, lots of umbrellas. And there's like, the Serenity Bay is pretty long, I would say. So if we wanted to walk further, we could have gotten even more private chairs if we wanted to. But we were like right next to the lifeguard. So we sat down for a while, and then I took some photos and stuff like that. Obviously, me and Tyler went into the water. The water was much calmer on the side of the island. I guess maybe because there's no ships on that side of the island. Obviously, no activities or anything like that. Very calm. It was so pretty. We hung out in the water for a while. Obviously, Disney has created to make it like like one of those sandbars, so it does not very deep. I'm assuming if I went further out, it would be deeper. But again, we didn't go that far out. We weren't like going to go crazy. So, and then we went to the Serenity barbecue place, or like the Serenity like cookery that's right there. Cookies Barbecue is the main area that you eat on Castaway Key, and this one was called, I think, Serenity Barbecue. Now, when we were sitting on our chairs, we wanted to look at the menu to be like, what food do they have? No menu anywhere. Couldn't find a single menu. Even Googling it, I couldn't find a menu. So we were like, whatever, let's just go over and we'll see what they have. So also they were very strict in this area about the wipes. So when you got off the tram, you had to use a wipe. When we got back to the area, you had to use a wipe. I went to the bathroom and came back, had to use another wipe, even though I was only on the bathroom, washed my hands there. So they're very strict about the wipes in this area too. And they were very strict about one wipe per person, because Shannon wanted a second wipe for something else. And she like walked over with Shannon to give Tyler the second wipe. Like you can only take one wipe per person. Not sure why, because I had like 3 wipes in the span of 10 minutes when I was walking back and forth so many times, but I don't know what the rules are. So anyway though, so we got there. So they have a lot of barbecue food there. That food is much more self-service, which is why I'm assuming why everyone has to use a wipe, because you touch the utensils there.
Stuff, yes.
And so so you serve, they have like a lot of the typical like barbecue food. This is all included still. So that was all the typical barbecue food, like coleslaw, potato salad, burgers. They had some steaks and stuff like that. They had an Impossible Burger, which is what I had. They had like, they didn't have French fries. That was the only like one thing they didn't have, so to speak. They had lots of different breads. They had lots of like fruit and stuff like that. So a lot of food. They also had a little dessert section of like brownies and cookies. And they also had a self-serve ice cream where you could do your own self-serve with the ice cream. So Shannon and Tyler did that because they were like the fiasco from the other day that their ice cream was like falling apart. They both got that, and I got the chocolate chip cookie. It was very good, honestly. And then we took the tram back to Pelican Point, I guess is what it's called. And then we just like walked back essentially. So then we took a lot of photos. Well, I mean, like just want to see, we took photos. We had some really good views of the ship as well. And then we thought about doing the other snorkel, because at first we realized we didn't do the tubes and we didn't do the second thing of snorkeling. So we didn't know where to get the tubes was the main thing. Because when we got to Serenity Bay, there was a hut to get the tubes. We just missed it. Honestly, it was right there. We just didn't see it until we were leaving. We were like, well, we didn't get the tubes. It's fine. It's no worries. And then the other thing of snorkeling, they like Disney has like placed stuff, in the water where you can snorkel above it. There you have like Eric, like the statue of Eric from the Little Mermaid.
Oh, okay.
Like that's there, like, little things like treasures you can kind of just see as you snorkel. So we thought about doing it, but at that point we had already snorkeled with a stingray stingray. So you're like, no, it's okay. We don't have to do it. It's like, we don't have to squeeze in everything.
Right.
And our goal was to get back to the ship because we all want to do the aqua mouse was like the main thing, honestly. So we took some photos and then we walked back. And then again, the walk from like the Pelican Point to the other tram stop wasn't very far. So we walked back. There were more stores along the way. We did all buy souvenirs as well too. This was the first time I really bought all of my running souvenirs before I did the run because we just happened to be at the store before I did the run. So earlier that day we had gotten all of our souvenirs there. And then we did take the tram back from like the main part of Castaway Cay to the ship because you can walk it, but it's kind of a long walk and like the ship looks like it's far away. It's probably not that long of a walk, but we took the tram back and it was fine. So I'll say the trams, it's like often you have to like switch trams. Like when the tram gets there, they usually tell you where the tram is going next because sometimes it's like again, you have to switch trams to get to Serenity Bay. There's no like straight tram to Serenity Bay type of thing. So we got back. I think we went to so this is when we went up. I mean, the Aqua Mouse was closed. So we couldn't go to the Aqua Mouse, which is kind of sad. We went back to the room, dropped the stuff off. Aqua Mouse was closed. So me and Tyler headed up to the adults only deck again. And then we hung out up there for a little bit. We just kind of like sat and like in the pool and like by those like benches things again. Mm-hmm. That's when we met up back again with Shannon because she wanted to shower. She was like, no, like she's like, there's been a lot of sun. She was like, I'm going to just shower. And then we went to the cantina. We got food in the cantina. At this point, it's like 4:00 in the afternoon. So we're kind of having like a late lunch, like a second lunch, almost early dinner in the cantina. And then that night, I think we went to bingo again after that. And then we didn't win that bingo, which was sad. And then me and Tyler had like 45 minutes to shower and get to the Aladdin show. So we showered as quick as possible and got to the Aladdin show. When we got there, that show was more packed than the Little Mermaid show, I feel like. So when we got there, we ended up sitting in like the box seats. So the box seats really close to the stage, kind of on the side. And so there's very strict no photography, no filming, like no phones out during the shows. And so during the show, because of where we were sitting, you could see the wings, right? So it was really fun for me to see the wings. I used to do theater, so it was really fun. But you could see some of the lights too. When Aladdin rubs the lamp, I saw a red light flash really quickly on the stage. And in my head, I was just like, wow, that was interesting. And then I thought they were just setting up for like the genie to come out of the lamp. Then suddenly Aladdin and the magic carpet just like rolled off the stage and there was an announcement that they were having technical difficulties and that the show was just paused for a second, essentially. Mm-hmm. The pause was only maybe less than 5 minutes. It's like 2 or 3 minutes. The show was paused. But Shannon said she also noticed the red light and like that was for the actors to realize that it's like you need to leave the stage because something is wrong.
Right.
When the genie does come out, I can see why. Maybe it was technical difficulties. It was like all these sparks fly on the stage. So I'm assuming that's probably what didn't happen or whatever. So Genie was great. The Genie's always great in a lot of roles. But what's funny during this show is that at one point Shannon said, I didn't hear the cast member come over, but a cast member came over to us in the box and he had said, please remember that there's no photography or videos, like please don't take your phones out, whatever. So Shannon thought someone in front of us like had their phones out and that's why I was saying that. It wasn't. Jafar and Iago came out from the corner and they have a little scene that's right in our box that was like a foot away from me. And so when they came out, it like scared me so much. So I was like, Jafar's costume, like he's a very tall man, of course, too, and he's such an elaborate costume and Iago's like a puppet and everything. And they're watching the scene of like Aladdin and Jasmine having their thing. So it was kind of cool that like we saw it first because they're supposed to be watching and then when they go off stage, then they have their scene in the corner, like watching them essentially. And so it was really fun. And Iago has this little interaction with this man as well up there. But it was so funny to like see them like that up close and like them to be in character too. And we're all like, oh my gosh. And I was like, if I was sitting on the end seat and he was right next to me, I think I would have peed a little bit, honestly. Like it was so like it like shocked me so much. But it was really cool though. And I'm glad we sat in those seats too because we almost sat in a different area. We actually almost stood in the back of a different area, but we ended up sitting in like the balcony instead. So that was really fun. After that, at this point, again, this is our last night and we're like, we haven't been to Joyful Suites, TBT to Joyful Suites. Remember that when we went there on the first day to check it out? Haven't been there yet again. So we go over to Joyful Suites. I got the Moose Tracks ice cream with the Kit Kat bar topping on it. So good, honestly. Tyler got ice cream, but he didn't like his as much though. I think he got gelato and then he also got chocolate covered strawberries. Shannon got ice cream. She ate her ice cream. I don't remember what she got though. And she also got the chocolate covered marshmallow as well. And so we had our ice cream. At this point now it's 7:30. So let me go back to the room. We had a stingray on the bed, which was really exciting. We don't know if that's just because we don't know if Valentino could see on our itinerary that we had booked the stingray thing, and that's why he did the stingray. We weren't sure why. Or it could just be because you were at Castaway Cay. Or because we were at Castaway Cay that we had the stingray. So we weren't sure, but we thought it was really cute. It was exciting to see stingray. And then our last dinner was at Worlds of Marvel. So we got to Worlds of Marvel, and there's a whole show about with the Marvel characters, the shrinks and everything with Ant-Man and the Wasp, whatever. I will say we didn't eat really any of the food this night. The food was not good at World of Marvel. All three of us disliked the food that was at World of Marvel. Everything that we ate was not good. It didn't help either that we had like 2 lunches and then the ice cream right before we went to dinner.
Right, yeah, so you weren't really as hungry.
Yeah, that was not helping the case as well that the food was not that great, but at the same time,
maybe that's a good thing then.
Yeah, thank goodness we ate food. Like even like the dessert I took one bite and I was like, this does not taste good at all. Like I'm not eating this. So I didn't even eat the dessert. The little interactive stuff in the show was very fun though. And then at the end, Spider-Man comes out and he goes to every table and you can take photos of Spider-Man. So that was kind of cool. And then after that, we did a few of the other on-ship activities. activities. Like there was like a game show thing that we did, and that it was just like kind of like a group type of thing, a game show. And then we did karaoke again. We did a lot of karaoke. So then we also did a trivia too right after as well. So first we did trivia, then this like game show thingy, and then karaoke. The trivia was a general Disney trivia level 2. So it's supposed to be just general Disney trivia. That's supposed to be a little bit harder. Now, some of the questions they asked were in our podcast episodes. So I was so upset I couldn't remember it in the moment though.
Oh.
So we were definitely not going to win anyway, because some of the questions we definitely did not know the answers to. It was fun though. And it was one of those things where it's like, I do wish we made the Disney parks trivia, because I think I would have done really well in the Disney parks trivia. Because even the international parks, I know a lot about the international parks too.
Right.
Again, we didn't win. We just did it for fun though, obviously. And then we did that game, and then we did karaoke again. And that last karaoke night, we did Mamma Mia, all three of us together, which was very fun. So, all right. So, and then the next day was the day that we left. So the main thing about leaving is that you have the option to put your bags outside of the room at 10:30, and they will take the bags off for you. Or you could do the takeaway or whatever, where you bring your bags basically with you. And we chose to do that option, and which thank goodness we did, because by the time we got back to the room that night, it was like we were still out at like one of the things at 12:30 still. It's like we were still out at 12:30. Like, what were we doing at 12:30? We didn't get back to, I didn't even start packing, because earlier that day I had to do something for work. So when Shannon and Tyler started packing their bags a little bit, I was on my laptop doing a work thing. And so I was like, I haven't packed at all. We got back to the room and it was like 1 a.m. I'm like, time to start packing, guys. I was like, we gotta leave this ship tomorrow. It's like, thank goodness we did not do the 10:30 p.m. thing, because like none of us would have made it. It's like that just was not. We were late to every dinner, every activity we were late to. We were always rushing around. And so we packed our bags. We didn't go to bed until like 2, and then we like got up around like 7 or 8. Now there's technically no official leave the ship time. Technically, they will make announcements on the thing of like what your tag is. So we had the Minnie Mouse tag. So it's like what tag is like for you to leave to go pick up your bags essentially. And so, but because we were doing walkout, it didn't matter for us. We could have left at any time. So when we left, Valentino had come over, and he just checked in with us to be like, oh, I didn't know if you guys were gonna leave yet or like left or not. And we're like, no, we're leaving like in a few minutes. They gave him his tip. So that's the other thing too. So it's like every day there's gratuity that's included that you pay for, that gets split between your 4 main people. So your 4 main people is your stateroom attendant, which were thus Valentino, and then your 3 waiters. So there's the head waiter, who we never really saw, honestly. So you have the head waiter, which for us was George, and then your 2 main waiters, which is Jeremy and Mitch. And so you have 4 envelopes, and you can leave all 4 of them like extra tips if they had done like a great job. I will say you can definitely tell that these cast members are like going for the tips. Even at the bars, you can tell they are like looking for the tips. And so don't blame them at all. I'm just saying this, you can tell is like they are definitely working for the tips though. And so you put the little tips in an envelope, and then at the restaurant at World of Marvel, you have to bring the envelopes with you to your last dinner. Tyler gave all 3 envelopes to the head waiter. We didn't know how it worked, honestly, if we were supposed to give them individually to them. And then we told Mitch that we gave your tip to the head waiter so that he could give to her. So again, hopefully all that worked out. We weren't really sure. And then for Valentino, we had come that morning. We just handed him his little tip envelope as well. So for the tips, we kind of debated back and forth how much we were supposed to tip them. So I think for our head waiters, our 2 main waiters, we tipped them, I think, $50 each. For the head waiter, who like low key didn't do a whole lot,
didn't do anything, we
gave him, I think, $20 or $30, because I'm sure it's like back end stuff that he's doing that we just don't know. He's working on our orders and stuff like that. Again, I know he's probably working very hard. I just don't see it from a front facing side. And Valentino, we gave $70 to, since Valentino is actually dealing with our rooms. Also, I feel like it's like the amount of time that man came to our room and redid the room. Also, we were sticking random stuff to the walls. Yeah. All these magnets we were putting on the ceiling and stuff like that, which is really funny. Yeah, so we gave a little bit more to Valentino, but that's also like technically optional too, because you are leaving them tips like in the like forced gratuity, so to speak, that's like included in the price that you're paying. So all right, so yes, and then we took our bags and we were getting off the ship, and we were getting off the ship. I will say you know it takes a while to kind of get off the entire ship. The takeaway bags, it makes sense because you kind of go through this like warehouse almost looking room where all the bags are like lined up, and then you just like take your bags off from there. And then once you get off the ship, then there is some people staying outside kind of directing, being like, if you're taking a shuttle to the airport, they have like free not free shuttles that are running on a loop, but you don't need a reservation. No reservation needed shuttles to the airport. I think it was like $30 to $50 a person. I can't remember how much it was. They also have the Disney Cruise Line buses as well that take you to like back to Disney World as well. But that whole area is also where just like Ubers and Lyfts can pick you up, or like a family member who's going to pick you up. I will say this felt very disorganized. This felt kind of crazy, which was like, I feel like there has to be a better way to do this. They did have a lot of people and like police officers like directing the Ubers to like move faster and everything in the line, but it did feel just kind of chaotic trying to get our Lyft back to take us back to Disney World. And then after that, we went back to we checked in our hotel, which is the Marriott Hotel by the airport, and we spent the day in Epcot afterwards. But yeah, but essentially that was the whole, like, trying to recap as quickly as possible, almost as long as the other one. Not too bad. I feel like I'm going to cut some of this out too. So yeah, but that was our whole fast recap of the trip recap of the Disney Wish.
It was some trip.
Like, overall, I love the Disney Wish. I'm definitely a cruise person after this. I definitely want to go on the cruise. I think the biggest things that I didn't like on the cruise, I feel like some things were kind of confusing when you get on the cruise that like I wasn't expecting or that I didn't know about. And I also would say too, there is so much to do on the cruise that we didn't do a lot. Like we never did the Disney parks trivia, which again, I got sick that one day. So that's why the time we had that we're going to do the Aquamouse, I was either sick or it was closed, and it did eventually reopen, but it was closed at the time. We didn't watch a single movie on the ship. Like we never met, like there were movies playing 24/7. Movies start at 8 a.m. on this ship, right? Didn't make a single movie in either, like there's 2 movie theaters and then there's the Funnel Vision. Didn't make any of the movies. And we didn't make any of like the Learn to Draws. I want to do one of those too. Didn't make any Learn to Draws.
Well, I'm sure that's on a 7-day cruise. You do more of that.
Yeah, I think it's like one of those things where it's like, it's all of like how you want to make the trip to be. It's like, do you want to spend more time in the pools and like doing pools and drinks? Do you want to just like run from activity to activity? Because there's an activity at multiple activities at every hour of the day that you can pick and choose, because they have lots of like theaters and lounges and like just different little nooks and crannies of like things to do essentially. Again, we didn't even get to do them. Like we never even made it back to Hyperspace Lounge, the Star Wars lounge. We only saw it for a little bit and then never walked by again, never saw it again. So like that was one of those things I was just like, oh yeah, that would have been fun to have like a drink in Hyperspace Lounge, but yeah, just didn't make it back. But yeah, so that was my overall trip recap. Again, in the future, maybe in a couple weeks, I will do like my top 10 tips to know about the Disney cruise, just because I feel like there's a lot, again, as a first time cruiser, that I didn't know about, that I didn't hear in any other podcast, that didn't really fit into like a trip recap. I feel like more like advice. I feel like that's what that won't be.
Advice, right? Yeah.
So because again, there's a lot that I feel like that, not that I would do differently, but it would just be like when I go next time, it's like, oh, now I know this. I didn't know before, so now I have a bit more knowledge is the only thing. Again, overall, I would say like 5 out of 5. Love the Disney Wish so much, and I'm excited to go on other cruises to compare, because again, I've only really been on the Disney Wish, so I can't really compare it to anything else. So.
Okay, man, it's gonna become a cruise person.
No, for sure. And I do think you would like the cruise. No. I think you would actually have a good time on the cruise. You really don't feel the movement of the cruise at all. This cruise especially is so clean. You know, it's like a very clean,
I have no want to get on a boat.
but I think you would have a good time. So I feel like it's something that we should consider as a family, maybe one day. All right, this is normally we do a little bit of Disney news, but this is a pre-recorded episode, so we're not going to do any Disney news today, but we will do some Disney birthdays. First up on June 16th is Shanghai Disneyland's birthday. That's when Shanghai Disneyland opened up on June 16th. June 19th, we have Augustin Madrigal from Encanto. And on June 21st is Anna's birthday from Frozen. June 21st is also my dad's birthday too, on the summer solstice. And then of course too, we also have Juneteenth on June 19th, of course. Right. So happy Juneteenth as well to everyone. And then this leaves us with our final segment of the podcast, our Disney memory. Do you have a Disney memory for today's podcast?
Nope. I wasn't on the cruise.
You just sat here and listened for an hour and 15 minutes.
Like I said, it was good because I couldn't wait to hear about it. So obviously we did it. It killed 2 birds with one stone. You did the podcast and I got to hear all the details.
Yeah, I know, right? And it's like I took no notes. I literally just sat here scrolling through the photos on my phone to kind of get
that's why it's good
everything.
To do it right away, because that's why I did when I did my Italy one right away, because it's fresh in your mind.
Yeah, so I would say, just for my own suggestion, if someone wanted to do Paolo or Enchante or like one of the dinners, I would suggest to do it either on Pirate Night or on the Marvel Night, because I found the food on those 2 nights were the worst out of all the dinners. And I would say, unless you're a big Marvel fan, obviously like you want to see the show from Marvel, totally makes sense. But because we ate in 1923 twice, it's like I feel like we didn't need to see the restaurant twice either. And the food on the first night was a lot better than the Pirate Night food. And I actually really like the show for Arendelle, so I would have done Arendelle again as well. So yeah, and when we initially made our Paolo reservation, then we canceled it. It was for a Pirate Night. So, and it's funny because we were really late to that dinner. I think we got there. Our dinner technically started at 8:15. We didn't get to that dinner until like 8:40. Like it was so late. We were like, oh my god, like not us. Like they probably didn't think we were coming. Then we showed up so late. So I was like, oh my goodness, it's like we were struggling. So the time management on the ship is hard. But again, we had so much fun though. And again, thank you so much to Shannon and Tyler who made this trip so special and like so fun. Like for me specifically, they did all this for me to make sure like I had the best bachelorette ever. And it really was. It was like one of the best weeks ever. And like I can't wait to go on like more cruises and like go on like more trips with them specifically too, because I know it'll be a lot of fun. But all right, thank you everyone for listening to this week's episode of the podcast. Make sure you give us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you are listening, or leave a comment down below if you're watching on YouTube. Again, we're going to have more Disney Cruise Line episodes in the future, so definitely make sure to follow us or subscribe on YouTube, because we'll have more advice videos coming up. Again, I took so many photos and took so many videos too. Our Instagram, Almost Amanda X, is going to have so much. But yeah, let us know, have you been on a Disney cruise? Are you going to go on a Disney cruise? Would love to know which ship of yours your favorite or some of your favorite activities on it. So definitely let us know. But until then, we'll see you real soon.